Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Iowa Soccer supporters. I'm Ben Brackett, alongside on the Zoom, at least on the computer screen, with my good buddy and co-host Blake Siebers. Siebes, what's up?
Good morning, Ben. Churning out the pods like crazy after a long hiatus.
I know, 2 in 2 weeks.
And this is like bringing it back to like old school COVID era when we were doing Zooms.
It's true. The schedules did not allow for us to get together this morning to record. So but we want to make sure that the people got what they wanted, which is a recap of a spirited Grandview game that we saw last night, but then also, and probably more importantly, a really great interview with the new head coach, David Groves.
Yeah, I'm still freezing from last night that we'll get into later, but nice guy, good guy. Grandview has, I think, found a pretty good get there with the new head coach on the boys' side.
Yeah, so we had an opportunity to chat with him and get a little bit about the program, but then also, learn a little bit about him as well. And then we'll do a little recap of the game. But why don't we just jump right into the interview with the new boss for Grandview Vikings, David Groves.
All right, David Groves, the new Grandview men's coach. How's it going today?
It's going well. I'm just glad to come down and have a few beers and
fresh off training.
Yeah.
All right, Blake, take it away.
All right, I got the first question, but then I've got a bone to pick with him. First question. So, do you know the first question we always ask every guest?
Yeah.
Which is?
Don't know.
Well, you just told us you did. Should we start this over?
No, go ahead.
All right, first
Ask
question we always ask is this the first pod you've ever been on?
It is, actually. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been on the radio. So when I was in Colorado, for whatever reason, I was at a JUCO. They used to have weekly radio interviews. So I used to be like once a month I'd go on the radio, which was kind of cool.
So you kind of know what it's like to
just
be on the radio.
Nice. More or less, yeah.
Do you did you bring any swag for your radio appearances? Because you did not bring anything to our podcast.
I guarantee you that as soon as he saw that you were empty-handed, he was like, yes.
Yeah, we had nothing. Usually people come on the pod, they bring some swag.
It seems like also he probably hasn't listened to the pod.
Correct, he definitely hasn't, which he didn't do his homework either.
I did not, no. I'll bring you guys something in the future.
We'll see you Wednesday.
Yeah, you'll see me Wednesday, and I'll be sure to I'll have some gifts for you guys.
That's hilarious. We started off like really cordial, friendly before the pod, and now we're just like throwing daggers at you.
Well, it's okay. We'll be nice now. We'd like to just kind of then the next sort of part of this is just like tell us a little bit about. Obviously, we know you're the new Grandview coach, but tell us a little bit about your soccer journey. And start as early as you want. I guess, we were chatting a little bit beforehand, and we're of the same era. So
sure.
I think
really, exactly. Exactly. Be
young.
Interested in how, when's the first time you played? Like, what was it like growing up, and how did you really get into it as a serious player?
Yeah. So my father's from Belfast, Northern Ireland. So basically, I just kind of always grew up around the game. I remember even, like, you guys probably remember too, even before like Fox Soccer Channel and all that stuff, and like games were on like pay-per-view. And
you had to go to your friend's house.
Yeah. Like, my dad would like drag me off to the bar at like 7 a.m. and I remember like watching Man United win the treble.
That's a good dad right there.
Like, yeah. in like 99, I remember when United like beat Arsenal, and just like little things like as a kid, and obviously I was just kind of, I didn't really have a choice. I just kind of was like 5 and I was thrown into the game. You don't really choose.
Your kid knows about that, right, Blake?
Yeah, he wants to be Jordan Pickford for Halloween, which is like
weird. Yeah,
he's a field player too.
Okay. Yeah, so it was a bad result versus United the other day.
Yeah, it wasn't great.
Yeah.
What a bad game.
Yeah, I was. No, it just kind of was one of those things. Like, and I liked like all sports sort of as a kid. I really liked hockey.
So you're up north, right? You grew up in
Michigan.
Like what part again you said?
Kalamazoo. So Southwest Michigan, and
sure.
Football, baseball, like everything. And then just with soccer, it sort of, I think it stuck because obviously it was the sport I was best at. And I played with some good players like Eric Alexander, who we were talking about, Jacob Peterson. I think pretty early I kind of had an idea that like those guys were getting. I mean, they both went to IU. Like, you know,
Yeah, that's
play
not,
and
no
like,
big deal.
That's Indiana for those that.
Yeah.
And there's some people that probably don't know.
Yeah, for Tracy in Michigan.
Traditional.
Yeah, and like so you just kind of like I don't know. You got the idea kind of early. I was like, you know, honestly, I played club at Western Michigan. Really wanted to go. My girlfriend at the time was going there. I looked at Indiana Tech, Hope College, but like I just wanted to stay close to home. Probably wasn't ready. And yeah, I mean, I just sort of, after that, I got into coaching when I was playing club. I started coaching at a local soccer club when I was probably like 19. And then I was a JV head coach by the time I was like 20. And then I was a varsity head coach at like 23. And then Western Michigan, you know, who I knew Chad Wiseman forever, kind of picked me up and was like, he took over the program, and I was at 25. I was an assistant for him. And then at that point, like, you know, I just kind of kept like moving up, and
It sounds like you've been willing to like move too, right? You've
Yeah.
like followed the opportunities.
yeah, and I just kind of was like, like I was torn. Like at first, I never really knew if coaching was gonna be like a viable career option. And I just kind of was like doing it like part time. I liked it, make some extra money, blah blah blah. I wasn't even full time at Western Michigan, and then you know, I just kind of took the first opportunity that came my way. I was like 27. It was in Sterling, Colorado. You know, town of 10,000 people.
Hold on, let's go back. How did you get out to Sterling?
I just packed up my.
Did you walk?
What opportunity presented itself?
I just
What
applied.
school is there?
It was Northeastern Junior College.
Okay, so it just pops up like that's
Northeastern Junior College.
Yeah.
The
that's just a
NEJC.
completely random school. So
Oh,
you're searching
completely.
the website for job opportunities.
Yeah, and-
you
and-
said I'll apply.
Yeah, no, like it was. They were like 0-16-1. Like it was one of the worst programs in the country. So it was just. I was basically at that point. I mean, I love Chad. I've got the most respect for the guy in the world. Western Michigan's like 9-1 this year. They're killing it. He's a great coach. But he's also, and I'll say this live, like he's a difficult human, you know. And I was just like, man,
We had a kid from Des Moines that went up there and came back pretty quick.
yeah, and like he's tough. Like he's tough on his players. He's tough, but he gets the most out of people, and I respect that, you know. And like he just kind of taught me everything, and I was like, you know what? First opportunity that they offer me a full-time job, I'm just gonna take it. And I took it, and like we made it. First year we were okay. I think we were like 9-6-3.
So they went from 0-0 for
16-1 to 9-6-1.
Oh, you're like
Well, there was
hero.
there was like
Absolute hero.
there was like 4 kids on the roster, like because it was just a mess of a program. So I just restarted it, and you know I was always infatuated with like the international recruiting, and that was kind of, you know, you get these emails and you watch these things, but at the Division I level, you're obviously not going to like be like, hey, here's a 70% scholarship on a guy that only sent me his video, you know, type thing.
Just for the record, I would like to come back to this.
Yeah. And like, I don't know, I went all international, did really well. The second year was.
Where's Northeast Junior College?
It's in Sterling, Colorado. So it's like.
Which is like, so how northeast are we talking?
It's like Nebraska. Yeah. So like.
So you're not in the mountains, you're in the flatlands.
No, you're in the flatlands. You're in like rodeo country. Like I went to my first rodeo ever. I actually remember I played donkey basketball once, where you like rode around on a donkey and you played basketball as a fundraiser. Which
No
was
way.
Cool.
That's
Yeah. Like,
actually that's probably worth it alone.
Yeah, and I mean I was there for 2 years, but like at that point I was pretty adventurous. I was willing to try anything.
So where's the international connections come from? Because like you said, at Western you weren't really recruiting a lot of internationals. I wouldn't assume, and obviously in high school
When you were at Western, were you in charge of recruiting, or what was you were probably more like the on-field guy, or what?
Yeah, I just kind of did whatever.
fill
I mean,
it in.
heck, at times I was working with goalkeepers. I just kind of did whatever was asked of me.
Sure.
And you know, I was yeah, I mean, I just sort of, the international thing's so strange because like it's mostly, I mean, like you guys, I know you've had Dean on this before. And
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
Dean and I kind of, I think, Dean's crushed it. I mean, you look
Dean
at
Johnson for those. There's a plug for the pod from what back
it's
in,
probably like episode 103.
well, they're ranked number 1 now in the country at Davis and Elkins.
he's crushing it. Like, and
He's coming back next summer.
when the Menace hired him, I was like, great hire. Like, I mean, the guy is just a program builder. He did it at Northeast Texas. I mean, Dean, if you're listening to this, here's your shout out.
Dean's not listening to this.
But like, I mean, he's crushed it. I mean, Northeast Texas was a joke of a program before he got there. He killed it. And then he went to this Davis and Elkins in middle of nowhere, West Virginia, number 1 in the country.
But it's interesting. So we have a coach. Do you know Bill Keppen? Shout out Bill Keppen. Bill Keppen might actually be listening. So he went to Davis. He went to Davis Elkins back in the, I'll say 80s. Seems reasonable.
Probably 70s.
Well, let's go with 80s to be nice to Bill. But it was like, he talks about it as like a big time program back then. But so
Was it?
yeah,
Okay.
so
I didn't know.
I'm just. But if anything, so that means he's just kind of like resurrected it and put it to the top. So like, it's still a good thing.
Yeah.
I was just trying to give Bill Keppen a shout out. Anything for Keppy.
Hey, Bill Keppen. I
Yeah.
don't know you, but no, I mean, and it was just kind of I mean,
So how do you go about the international recruiting? Is it all video? Is it like do you just like hop on the plane and go like, all right, I gotta go to Ireland or I gotta go to?
So it's mostly like these agencies, and right, they all have sort of a there's a different level of like reputation. I mean, there's literally the guy with the Gmail account who just kind of told a bunch of kids like, hey, I can get you to the U.S. And then there's legit like there's a company FFF USA that's run by Angel Di Maria's agent. Right, and so the guy who's responsible for getting like French.
Blake, you want
players-
to tell us who Angel De Maria is, please? Okay, go ahead.
I said actually he's.
Did you see every time you've mentioned somebody, he has to like clarify?
Yeah.
So like, go ahead, tell us for the.
Who's he actually play for now? We were talking about United. He's playing
Juventus,
for
I think?
Yeah,
He went from
Is
PSG
he not
to
at PSG
Juventus.
anymore?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, he's
he
at
went to
Juve.
Juventus.
Argentinian.
He's at Juve and like not playing, but
Yeah. But he was won the Champions League.
Yeah,
like
that's
all these
his
things.
agent. Like that's
Yeah.
proper.
Yeah, so he has a whole
Job.
agency of like kids that are like they can't make it in France, and their parents have a little bit of money, and they're like, well, hey, come over to the U.S., try your luck over here. If you make the MLS, great. If not, you'll end up getting a college degree, you'll learn English, and you'll come back home, and you're only paying for, I mean, a lot of these kids come over and they're getting decent money, but so there's whole and then there's people in Australia. I mean, there's whole businesses wrapped around this international recruiting now, and you kind of have to dig through like what are legit and what are just sort of like a guy working behind the computer, and you build your relationship with these agents. Some are real agents, some are wannabe agents, I guess. But and Dean's honestly someone who's done a great job with that. Like, you can talk Dean and be like, hey, is this guy legit? And he'll be like, oh yeah, I know him from da-da-da. And like, he's so connected with all of that
when you
stuff.
work with those people, are they giving you film at this point in life? So
Yeah.
So when I was wanting to come back to this, so when I played, we had one international kid that we brought in from, I think he was Serbian. Gosh, I'm probably gonna, I know there's a divide there. I'm fairly confident he's Serbian. Vlade, and he was super great guy, but like spoke no English. I could tell you funny stories about some of those like mispronunciations and miscommunications.
Yeah.
But he showed up and like the boy crushed the fitness test. Like walks off the plane and runs 3 miles in 17:30, and you're like, whoa, okay. But then he was like, but I need the afternoon off. Yeah. And the coach was like, okay, sure, have the afternoon off. And we all played 90 minutes against each other and like murdered each other.
Yeah.
And then we went through the season, and like he was definitely capable of playing at that level. But like if we watched the video with our coach, and we're like, this guy's amazing. He's gonna change the program.
Yeah.
And he showed up, and we're like, he's gonna be a good team guy.
Yeah.
So I just like, how do you pick through that? Because I mean, shoot, like that, I'm sure that's not like the first time that's ever happened.
No. I mean, I
And
think
Vlada is not listening to the podcast.
I think the thing that always surprises international players is one, like time and space in the U.S. game is completely limited compared to what they're used to. I mean, you have substitution
Deaths are
rules
coming
that
at all
like,
times.
Yeah, like it's just you're constantly under pressure. I mean, you have teams that tactically will just rotate in 5 guys, up front, number 10s, and they're just like, just go press them, just press them into mistakes. And so it's like the athletic component, I don't think they're used to, because if you're playing with 3 substitutions or what is it, 5 now, I guess, the what is it, Premier
It does
League?
change the pace of the game, though.
Yeah, it changes it completely. And so they, that takes a while to adapt. I mean, right now, like our international freshmen, that's what the biggest thing that I've had a problem with them is like your game speed has to be higher.
When you say that's probably the best way that I would describe Vlade. Is that, like he was capable. He was a player.
Yeah.
But like he didn't want to get kicked every 2 seconds.
Sure.
And that was basically what was going to happen. Like every time you touch the ball, like somebody's probably not good enough to just like defend you. They're just going to kick you.
Yeah.
And take the foul and slow the game down.
Yeah. And you can't be out for a week when you get your toe stepped on.
No.
Like, and it's just
tough.
Kind of one of those things that like I don't think. I personally sometimes like the junior college players that are international, because a lot of those kids are initially will go to junior colleges because, well, one, the language scores aren't as high. You can get in with a lower TOEFL, Duolingo, IELTS, I think is the other one. And you can kind of see, hey, how do they deal with sort of the structure of being a student athlete? How do they deal with, the school and the social, and, how do they balance their lives? Because sometimes kids come over and they just run amok, and you're just managing a headache for 4 years. And so the junior college is kind of a good way to feel out a kid, talk to a coach, how's this guy? And I've used that a lot in the past, honestly. I've used transfers just to kind of gauge, like, how have they adapted to the game? Because I've had great players that have come over, like, honest to God, to goodness, very technical players, could do everything with the ball that you wanted them to, but they just couldn't get used to, like, the pace and physicality. And so that was something, I honestly like transfers because of that reason.
So you're at Sterling, 2 years, you turned the program around, which honestly couldn't go anywhere but up.
Sure, yeah.
But you've done well.
Yeah.
And so where do you go from there?
Went to Lyon College in Arkansas.
Which is an NAI school.
Yeah, NAI.
In Batesville, you said.
Batesville, yeah. So it's
between Little Rock and Memphis.
It wasn't far from. So it's kind of right where the Ozarks start. Really pretty area. School is beautiful campus.
What's
private
it called
school,
again?
Lyon, Lyon.
Okay.
So like Lyon. I know
Yeah,
French kids would be Lyon. But
You should have had like a massive French contingent.
Yeah, that would have been great.
Actually, my best player there was from Lyon, actually. But he, it was, it was a great, just similar kind of program. Was, I think, 6 wins when I got there. And we were 11-8 my first year. I was there 4 seasons. We ended up winning the tournament and the league.
The conference tournament.
And the conference itself for the first time. Both trophies were the first in the history season.
No big deal.
Well, but it just kind of seemed like, for me, I mean, to be honest, I think what attracted me to the area was just getting back to the 4-year. It kind of became frustrating. Junior college was hard. You're just always recruiting. You're always rebuilding. Year by year.
Churning.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, you can go from having a great team to being, crap the next season, and like it could just be one recruiting class. At least at a 4-year, if you have not the greatest recruiting class, you survive.
Well, in theory, you're always recruiting over your class. In what you're talking about, you're just recruiting constantly.
You're always replacing. You're not trying to like really build. You're kind of replacing.
So then, how long did you end up staying in Lyon?
4 seasons. Yeah, 4 seasons.
So
4
you got
years.
that head coach job at 27, did that for a couple of years, 4 seasons there, and then that's where you are today. I mean, that's
correct.
Yeah. Oh, you're such a young man. I love that. I'm jealous.
Well, and I mean, honestly, like, my wife, who's from Little Rock, and, it was just kind of like, I mean, at some point you make those next steps in your life, and it's like I wanted to be in a city. I wanted to
What
have.
about the recruiting opportunities you have now? Like,
Yeah.
you're trying to recruit people in the middle of nowhere, and now
What
you're trying to
attracted
people
you
in a big
to
city. Yeah,
Grandview? Seeing it pop up on the, is there still the NCAA or an NAIA? Is there a board?
Yeah,
Job board?
I think I saw it on Indeed. Honestly, I was.
That's crazy,
Out
isn't
of
it?
all things, yeah. I mean, I just honestly, I was looking for something in a city, and I got a call from the athletic director, Troy, and Troy Brumler, athletic director, Grandview, and I just was like, I knew a little bit about the program, but not a ton. And I just came, and he flew me in. 48 hours later, it was like, hey, here's the plan for the facilities, and like, here's what the program's done. Here's a scholarship structure. A huge thing for me was like, the full Pell Iowa tuition grant for private schools. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but like,
Sell it to our listeners. And like
yeah,
parents.
I mean, it's
especially for the players that are going to listen to this to their parents.
yeah, I mean, it's like, okay, so if you're full Pell, they basically the state of Iowa more or less.
What does that mean again for the?
So full Pell's
Sorry.
like if you make under a certain income level, the government provides you with like $6,800 a year, I think it is, right? So you take that $6,800, and then the state of Iowa actually like matches that. So it's like you're getting $14,000 just from the government to go to school, and then I could take our aid that we provide at Grandview, and we can give kids like free like tuition if they live at home. Right, they don't really spend anything, and so they're not going into student loan debt. Like, I looked at the level around here, the players, and I was like, man, I mean, there's some good players. Like right now, I mean, like I told you guys before, we're starting. Like, I mean, local kids are totally in the mix right now, and like, I just thought it was a really cool, unique opportunity, and kind of a win-win. It's sort of like, okay, if you work out as a player, right, and you do really well, and you develop with us, like, yeah, you're gonna contribute, get a degree, and not go into student loan debt. Or worst case, doesn't work out for you as a player, you still get a degree, don't go into student loan debt. And I thought that was a really cool niche, honestly. Like, I was pumped about that. Like, it kind of just, yeah, it was a perfect situation.
Do you remember where you stayed at overnight?
When I came here?
Yeah.
Holiday Inn.
Which one?
The one like right by the
downtown?
highway. When
Yeah.
I go by
Oh man, we gotta talk to Grandview.
Yeah, we'll have to
Troy.
chat with them.
They gotta.
They could put you up somewhere.
There's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot of other better hotels.
I liked it. I was like, yeah.
What were your first impressions of Des Moines? And then like you said, you got married this summer. You mentioned, I don't know, that was off the mics, but
Yeah.
so then you got married, moved to Des Moines. Where are you guys at now? What's going on?
So we moved.
Oh no, is this gonna be?
No,
it's
it's like South. I didn't realize it. Like, I mean, I don't believe me. It's my wife's job, but we moved south of Grand, which I think. And so it's like, I mean,
I was wondering where you were gonna go with this.
yeah,
That's
we
good.
we
Ben's
were,
got a house. Ben has two houses, kinda, and one of them is south of Grand.
yeah.
So.
Well, hopefully he's not the guy that's like coming over once a week complaining about our dogs, because
That's not me.
we got him. We got
I
him
like
like we got some guy that like comes by like once a week, and he's just like, your dog, So we got my dog a bark collar and all these things, and then we
You
had
got a
another guy
barker.
that's like, I can't
Reason
believe you.
number 333 not to get a dog.
All right, easy. Gotcha. So, so you're living in the
Yeah.
right part of town, at least, down in
Oh, it's
Des
great.
Moines.
Yeah,
West
downtown.
Side's a good spot.
Yeah, all sorts
All
of
sorts
stuff
of fun.
around.
Yeah, all sorts of good stuff happening. We're more or less neighbors.
So you coming to?
So
so you
we'll meet
coming
up
to-
on Ingersoll.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, no, I mean, where do we go? We go to Bartender's Handshake.
Oh, that's 2 blocks.
Okay.
Let me know.
Yeah, no,
Yeah, there they've just introduced.
Yeah, in the
back.
yeah, I get the it's like a drink with wild turkey. Jack Horner, that's the one I get.
Nice.
I'm more of a GT's guy.
GT's is a
Have you
good
been to
spot too.
GT's yet?
We should
No.
take you
What's
to GT's
GT's?
sometime.
Nobody south of Grand goes to GT's.
They definitely. I would go there.
I've heard that joke a lot lately. It's like, you live south of Grand, you have your own security and all those types of things.
So you come into Des Moines. We'll get back on subject. Coming to Des Moines, go to Grandview, and you're there this summer. And like, how's that play out?
yeah, I mean, it was.
Trying to fill out the staff too. Talk about.
Yeah, it was kind of just like, I don't know. I mean, it was you walk into a program and there's a lot already obviously in place and built and things like that. To be fair, we kind of, it's all, but we've really been impressed with like the young kids, the local kids. But in terms of settling in, there was so much of my life that sort of happened this summer with just moving, wedding in Ireland, getting married myself, that I kind of kept things going as they were. And, and like, it has been. I mean, our results were about 500. I mean, granted, we played like the third hardest schedule in the NAIA, and we're starting 7 freshmen. So, I mean, there's going to be some rough patches along the way. But, it's hard. That part of it is hard for me because, like, I'm such a competitive guy. And it's like, you want to win, you want to win, you want to win. But I think that we are in the midst of, like, a little transition. And unfortunately, there's parts of that I have to. I've accepted. It's just taken me a little bit of time, to be honest. But, I mean, there's certain things that, like, as a program, we still need to grow. And I got to do my job bringing in the right kids and the right caliber of player. And there's certain things with the program for sure that I'm going to have to adapt in order to grow it to the level that I feel like it has the potential to grow to.
Is Blair still around?
So
this is good. We talked to him when he retired, right? When did we talk to him, Ben?
We did a retirement pod. Yeah, we did a retirement pod.
So
with
he
him.
was like, "Oh, this was before they even opened up or whatever."
Yeah,
He's like, "I don't know what I'm
you
going
didn't
to
even
do."
exist at that point, Dave.
Yes, he was like, "I don't know. I don't know what like if I'll be. Who knows?" So is he? I'm just curious, actually. We didn't even talk about this. So
no, he's come around. I saw him at like an alumni game, and I love. I don't know Blair that well, but like I'm sure you guys know. I mean, Blair can talk a lot. I think everybody knows that. And,
I think he'd be the first to admit it.
And, we would just be, I mean, when I got the job, we'd just talk on the phone for hours, just about random things and great guy,
He's great.
And nothing but good things to say about him. And I think, honestly, he's done things the right way, which I think, when you do, I mean, he was there longer than I was alive, that would be hard to like just up and leave. And it was just kind of almost like one day it was like his office was full. The next day, like it was gone. And it was just,
we talked about that with him on the pod. Like it was so weird for him just because it's just what he's been doing.
Yeah. And I totally understand that. And I respect that. And I respect the way that he's handled it in terms of kind of being like, stepping away, like I'm done.
He's definitely trying to like not be
Yeah.
an overbearing father.
Yeah, and it would be and it would be hard because it is, it's your baby,
Yeah.
and
Literally, like it did not exist before he.
yeah, and I mean I respect how he's handled it because I know that, again, putting myself in his shoes, that would be a very difficult thing to do.
So then you talked about like where you're at currently as far as, future versus current, like present. So what's training right now? Like, what are you guys working on? And then like also, are you simultaneously recruiting right now?
Yeah.
Or
got
do
a
you
good
wait
one
until
then.
the end of the
don't
season
answer
to
that
do that?
second part.
Okay, so
I've
talk about this training first, and then
Yeah, so I've in training today, I mean, honestly, what I worked on him with was just kind of like, honestly, like speed of play. Like, we just play so slow. I mean, it's very...
So we were talking about this before with the international players, that a lot of times they come and it's like they're used to just like a little bit of a slower pace of play, but then you're also dealing with high school players, so they're also used to a slower pace of play.
Sure, yeah.
And you're also playing a lot of times against adults at NAI, in NAI, right? Like,
You're playing against, international grown men.
And you're playing like in the, or I think it's fair to say it's not arguably, it's the top conference
Oh, sure.
in NAI.
Oh, by far.
By far, yeah. And so, and that was, I think, the struggle is like...
Hence why he came.
Yeah, I loved the idea of the challenge of it. There was, I think it killed some of the boys, like, because, I was really, I'll be honest, like, we were playing our way into problems. Like, we would overplay and, like, we would just concede goals.
Just leave yourselves open.
Yeah, like, and we would just be sitting there in games, and I'd be like, oh my gosh, this could be, there'd be games that, like, I think we're 4, 5, and 3. But there was a period of time where we were pretty direct, and I was kind of like, look, we're going to be direct when we play Missouri Valley, Central Methodist, these top 10 NAI programs because
Soak it up. You got to soak up the pressure.
And we were just sort of like, and it was like the guys, there was a lot of pushback. I could feel like, it was like, well, we don't do this, because which guy really wants to buy into like battening down the hatches, going long, dumping balls to the fast kids and stuff.
I like that shit.
Yeah, I do. See,
Because you're the fast guy, you can just tackle and just
Dumper
lump
and
it.
tackler.
yeah. And it's like, but like, that's a part of the game, and like, you have to be willing to do that. I mean, we've had one clean sheet this season, and it's kind of like, but some of the problems we create are problems that we create ourselves through speed of play. And so, I've gotten to the point though, is like, yeah, you don't want to be a direct team forever, because you want to be a team that gains the initiative of the game.
You should be able to do both.
Yeah.
And if you can bring the game to them,
sure, bring it. And if you can't, then
have
be
a
willing.
plan B.
Yeah, be willing to. And I think that, I think that part of the growth process has been a little hard for the players to fully understand, and even at times, I'd say buy into. But also, there's a lack of experience either through U.S. high school kids or international kids. But I truly believe that it is important to play both ways, because you can't dominate every single game. And, the term I've used is, you're not going to play chess with checker pieces, and, vice versa. You're not going to play checkers with chess pieces. Like, you need to be willing to understand with where you're at.
That's your job.
Yeah.
Like, right, you'll get sacked if you guys go.
Sure. Yeah, if we go 3
over,
wins.
yeah.
if you offer twice, see ya.
Yeah.
Or
sure.
less than 5 wins, see ya.
Well, what happens to morale with guys? You win, everyone's happy. Life's good. Coach is great. You lose, coach is an idiot. He doesn't know what he's doing, blah, blah, blah. And it changes day by day by day. And it's like that's where the result to me is the most important thing. And understanding how you get that as a team, and buying into that is crucial. That's the reason I've loved the Des Moines kids, because they're just like soaking in information. You can just see them grow. I've loved working with them, to be honest.
I think that was kind of what we were talking about before. Is just because of the landscape of soccer right now. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of these kids, like, they're going to grow in like exponentially when they get to you because of that same reason. They just haven't been coached. Every single day is like a full-time job to be a soccer player.
Sure. Yeah. And like understanding, what can work, what works in Iowa high school soccer, what won't work in college soccer, and like how to adapt your strengths to make them work. Like Lucas Newhard's our leading goal scorer, and what is he, Gatorade player of the year last year in high school or something. And it's like,
well, and the crazy, you probably know this, but he was homeschooled.
Yeah.
And then only played the one season. And like, we saw him play, like, he's good for sure.
Yeah.
But like, I'd love to see him play some more. And
Sure.
see him play with like better players more
Mm-hmm.
consistently, because I bet you same thing, like he's just going to soak it up.
Sure.
He's a sponge.
Yeah, and it's just little nuances to his game that you're like, okay, this is going to work, this isn't going to work.
And then he's also like turning into a man.
Yeah,
Or,
yeah.
these people are turning into adults.
Sure. They're going from children to men.
Correct.
And you see it like happening before your eyes, and they don't even know it half the time. But it's like, if you come in as a true freshman and you're a leading goal scorer, you're obviously doing something right.
Right.
In some capacity.
But physically, like, he was nowhere close to what he could be in 2 years.
Oh, sure. And it's cool to see the development of those kids. We've got tons of them, like we talked about. Tonatia, I just call him T. Merlos Rojas. He scored a game-tying goal with 8 seconds left the other day. Freddie Munoz Garcia has done great. Poor kid. I've moved him all over the field because his IQ is so good. So I'm just
Smart player.
I'm like, you're going to go here because we have a hole here. You're going to go here because we have a hole here. And I kind of feel like I messed with him a little bit, which I try to talk to him. Like, it's because I like you. Like, it's not because...
What a position to be in as a freshman.
Yeah,
That's interesting. So, like Ben was saying earlier, you were talking about recruiting. So, what's like the David Groves player that you're looking for? Because again, you haven't seen any of these kids play.
Yeah.
Like, you inherit a roster. So, like, now are you guys doing? What'd you say, Ben? Are you doing recruiting at the kind of the same time? Plus,
like simultaneously,
yeah.
or do you just say,
what are
like,
you
we'll worry
recruiting
about it in
for?
November?
Yeah, I try to. It's such a pain in season. I am. If you look at my I mean, I could show you you guys know what WhatsApp is, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Sure, your
Oh my
wife's
gosh, and that's
still-
like the international.
there's like
the way, right?
all those blues right there. I mean, those are all
Christ.
recruits of it's just kind of constant conversation.
WhatsApp
and,
is like the international
I
messaging thing.
hate
If you
it.
know,
Yeah.
it's overwhelming.
I turn off my notifications now so that I just every once in a while I'll be like, okay, I'm willing to spend 2 hours doing this like right now. But yeah, no, it's a year-round thing. I mean,
Oh, this will be good. Like this is a plug for our YouTube. Yeah, all right. This is our YouTube plug. Like, you want to see what we're laughing about? Like, our videographer,
and I was like going like
Ethan
this.
/ Evan, is like taking pictures. So stay tuned.
Yeah, we always give a shout out.
Evan Killstrom, the guy behind the camera, he's got a face for that. So well done.
So then, okay, so you've got how many players on your roster currently today? 38, 40?
we have almost like.
Do you have a JV
Don't
team?
tell me
Yeah.
60 or something
Yeah,
crazy.
we do.
Jeez,
We have 60. Yeah, and I mean, it's
How do you manage that? Just like how many
a lot of coaches. I mean, honestly,
how many coaches do you have?
Run
through the staff. Give us the full
Well,
staff.
it depends on who shows up, maybe.
Oh, yeah, I wonder if that's
we
part
have
of it. I
we
don't know
have
if that's part of it.
Al Driscoll, who's been in the area a while. Jonathan Rivera, who's with me for years at Lion. Matt DeBoer, local guy. Johnston, I think he's an assistant at a high school up there.
DeBoer? Like Frank DeBoer?
Yeah.
Yeah, Ronnie's nephew.
Yeah. Frank DeBoer. That's a
Frank
shout
DeBoer's
out.
Yeah,
ball.
like those are old school boys.
Dennis Burkamp?
Yeah. No, there's and then Brody Ertzinger, he played there. AJ Thompson, he's a local guy.
The English Muffin. Shout out to the English Muffin. I used to coach him.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, he
tell you
does
that's-
well with our goalkeepers. Great guy.
Yeah,
So it's kind of
absolutely.
this whole, and we probably got to make things a little cleaner. But it was kind of the plan was initially was like, we'll have our first team, we'll have our second team. Our second team will be more like local guys. We're playing against, JUCOs, because arguably the Iowa Junior College Conference is one of the best in the country. And we'll give those guys game minutes, develop them, push them. Same thing as the varsity. And then, with that, we kind of have a developmental team, which is more or less like guys that struggle.
JV club, like whatever.
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, kind of like you're not doing the things that are necessary to be a collegiate athlete type
Right.
thing. And you still want to play, so here's some part-time thing you can do, more or less. And
So do they participate, when you train, do you have train 60 guys started training and then you're like, all right, break out?
so today we actually did with 40 because the training session we were doing was.
So you just say 20 guys, peace out. You're not invited to training today.
Yeah, they basically.
I'd say it a different way.
I know, but
No, they just don't train today.
Yeah, they train.
It's Monday. They don't train. They played a game.
They
on
train
Sunday,
on
they don't train
Tuesdays
today.
and Thursdays.
There you
disrespect
go.
to all you boys out
Yeah.
there. It was not-
But
trying to understand.
Yeah, I mean,
Relax.
I try to mix it up to make it because it's I mean, and two, those guys when they come in and all of a sudden they're with the first team, you're guaranteed effort, So all of a sudden on a Monday training session, it's the session today I thought was really good because it was just guys working hard and we were doing kind of building out of the back and pressing. So, guys would come over and it wasn't like they were jogging to press. They were like, I'm going to impress today and, stuff like that. So it just depends on the dynamic, I think. But yeah, it was.
What's your ideal squad size?
You gotta have the kids
I'm
I'll
just
help you out here.
asking.
For the administration though, they
I
want a big
understand.
squad.
I'm just
'cause there's a lot of
trying to
kids
understand
paying.
how you manage
Putting them
that.
under
It's
the
crazy.
fire,
Yeah,
man.
so-
That's a
So
big squad.
they do.
Sorry, David. I'm not
no,
trying to
it's,
put you under the
no,
fire.
no, it's cool. And so I mean, the
Oh.
so the administration, I mean, they'll want first team and second team, which I understand. I mean, the crazy thing is you're even seeing it now with Division Ones. When I was in Arkansas,
I get this.
University of Central Arkansas had similar numbers. Marshall, even they won the national championship.
Yeah,
we actually got a guy as a transfer from Marshall's JV. They have the numbers too, and it's a lot of times those will be hey, we'll give you X amount in staff, but you handle more type thing. And so there's pretty cool things you can do with, like, obviously the extra staff, extra, budget. We can, like, track people with GPS systems, and we use Instat, and we can do all this kind of cool stuff. So it's like, I don't see it as like a bad thing, because it's almost like a lot of times you're just giving a kid a chance, and you're saying, hey, take it. If you're gonna get a professional environment, take the opportunity. If you do well with it and you become a starter, great. If not, you're getting a degree, either if you're Iowa tuition grant and Pell, probably free. If not, you're getting a discount on your degree or whatever that is. So
Yeah.
Remember how many times we've talked in the spring you can't even play 11v11?
Yeah.
Like that's,
Blake, I'm not against it. I'm like baffled at the management of that many players at that level. Like, that's literally, it's just, because I remember how hard it was to be a part of a squad of like just less than 30, and it's like keeping everybody happy is impossible.
100%.
Like literally, there's
keeping track of their
10,
social
there's at
life
least
in Des
10
Moines.
people that are like absolutely constantly talking smack about everybody on the team, like just like trying to undermine. Like, that's constant.
I know.
30% of the squad at 30 players
Yeah.
is not happy, and then there's that middle third that's like, like, I'm gonna shut my mouth because I might have a chance.
Sure.
And then there's the top third that's like, I'm a starter, but buzz off.
What about the other percent that just go out on the Fridays, Thursday, Monday, and Tuesday?
Yeah, but
night
those
and
boys,
just-
those boys
Fun.
exist. Those boys exist in the first tier, and the second tier, and
Yeah,
the
but
third
you still
tier.
have to, you still have to look after them, don't you? Like you can't
But
get a phone
that's
call.
more what I'm
at-
saying is, like, you're just doubling your program
Yeah.
size. So when you say, like, how do you manage, like, how just that, and I'm like,
No,
and I
it's-
also get it, like, of course you
Do you
want
have
more
the
players.
Do you have
to
the
be
whole
there.
Avenue tap on your like caller ID, so that when they call you, then you know. Like, hey, one of the boys is it's a Monday night. Guess what? Whole Avenue tap. That's a great little place. By the
Play
way.
for however.
Yeah, I mean, no, you're totally right. That's probably the most difficult thing, is like the management of that amount of people. I mean, how do you keep that amount of people happy? It's obviously impossible, And so
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing, and this is something that, was big for me, is just kind of at the end of the season, I'm just going to sit down with all of them and be like, here's where you're at. This is where we see you. You're going to probably, this is where you're going to be probably the remainder of your career. Do you accept that or not, type thing? Because if you don't accept it, then this isn't worth it for either of us, because we're just going to be button heads for the rest of our lives, and you're never going to get what you want, and I'm never going to be able to give you what you want. And so, I think that people, and if a kid can't, they're like, screw this guy, he's an idiot or whatever, I mean, the coach is always the idiot, right?
Yeah,
And
100%.
And so it's like, then that kid can go try his luck at a new program, and that's just has to be the reality of it, because otherwise, it's not worth anyone's time, mine, theirs, whatever, us fighting a battle if really, at the end of the day, they're just not in the plans, and I don't know another way to do that than be like honest and transparent. And kind of my message this year was more or less I was going to give everyone a chance, because I thought that was fair. I didn't know the program, I didn't know the players, I didn't know, much about anything, and there's been some guys that have really, stepped up to that. And then, there's been others that, but that's just how it goes. I mean, that's how it goes in sport, and I accept that. But yes, I mean, that is one of the more difficult things of my job.
And
is
you
the
have
management
players
of
that,
people.
like, legitimately I would expect want to play professionally.
Sure, yeah. Every player does, and we all know how hard that is, like.
Yeah, I feel like and maybe this is wrong, but like if you're at Simpson College, you're like, I'm a D3 player, this is where I'm at.
Sure.
But I feel like if you're at NAIA, there's still that, like, well, there's at least one player every year that comes out of NAIA
Sure.
that plays in the MLS and is a pro.
Yeah.
So, like, that's my goal. I don't know how many D3s play. It's like maybe every 5 years there's a D3 player that comes
Sure,
out. Like,
sure.
it happens.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but you've got that, and then you've got the kids that are like, yeah, man, I just want to, like, be in college and, like, get to still play, and I'd like a uniform.
Yeah.
I'd like a uniform
Yeah.
and a training session and some cones.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's, and I mean, you guys know, I mean,
The
did you ever
challenge.
play with anyone that was ever pro? Like,
Oh, yeah, sure.
I mean, so it's like when that guy's there, I mean, at least in my case, it was like we were 11 years old, and that guy was like, you'd play in a game and win 10-2, and that guy would score 8 goals. You know, like it was just like they were in a tier of their own.
Perfect.
Completely. Like,
So we haven't done this in a long time.
Oh, I love it.
One,
Go for
because
it,
we haven't done a
Steve.
podcast in a long time, but two,
And it's a
also
good
been while.
transition to the end because we're just going to keep talking at it.
Yeah. So we like to ask people about their ultimate 5-a-side team.
So you know about our mini pitches?
yeah.
Good
no, I do
answer.
know about
Good
that,
answer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
So who is your ultimate mini pitch squad? If you can bring them in from any time in your career, from players that you've coached, players you've played with, coaches that have coached you, whatever. Like you can be on the squad. You don't have to be on the squad, but you need a goalie and 4 field players.
And you can put a field play. Some people have done field player in goal because it's futsal. It's all.
Some people are in the
open-ended.
squad, some people aren't. Some
Yeah.
people say like, I don't need to be in the
And
squad.
like you can't just continue to look up at the ceiling
Yeah.
and like think because
No.
we don't have those
We're gonna
editing
put- we're gonna put
capabilities.
So rattle off your top 5 for 5-a-side.
5-a-side.
Goalkeeper.
The east side.
How big
mini
are the
pitch.
goals?
It's futsal, mini pitch.
Just, yeah,
goals.
like tiny goals. 6
Um,
by 8.
Honestly, the goalkeeper would probably be Drew Shepard from Western Michigan. He played for Toronto FC2.
Great.
And he was phenomenal. I think he's a pilot now or something.
I would go to school.
Then I coached a kid named Paul Liagre he was a French Academy reject. Well, it's a mean way to say it.
He's
but,
not listening to podcast.
but he's phenomenal. He was at JUCO. He went on to a Division I, had a great career there.
Where'd he go to D1?
In Western Michigan.
Oh, nice.
Sure.
Sure.
But I would have him in that because he was.
Where's he playing at?
I don't
Or do
know.
we need to ask this at the end of the
I
by the
think
time you
he's
pick your
literally
5?
just in France, probably. Like,
No, sorry, on your 5-a-side team.
Oh, he was
Is
like
he playing, is he going to play in the back?
he'd
Is
be
he
like a
gonna just-
right back. Yeah, but he was a 10 for me at JUCO because he was better than everybody.
Interesting.
You
So
know.
he's put a guy that scores a lot of goals as a right back.
Yeah, I
Okay.
like it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we're going after it. Then I would say playing with I'd say Eric Alexander because he played for, I think he holds the record for most games in a row for New York Red Bulls. Like he played with Henri.
Consistently like that.
TT.
Where's he playing at?
He
On your
is-
5-a-side, sorry.
He's in the midfield, center mid.
So you're okay.
Yeah. So he's
So we have one defender, one midfielder, and
yeah,
a goalkeeper.
yeah. So then
Spine of the team.
yeah.
Balance it out.
Actually, so I'm gonna put. Yeah, no, Paul will be like a right back, right center back. So we're gonna play like a 2-1-2. Okay. Center back. We're gonna
I
skip
love it
that
back
one.
when we just like surprise these guys
You
with
shouldn't
these.
give him this surprise because it's
The other one would
all
probably
right.
be, I'd say. Oh, Jake Peterson. He'll be up front. Scored a goal for IU in the national championship game.
That's
Played for
okay.
the Rapids. Played for Kansas City for a while.
Where are you going to fit into this squad? Are you really going to be on the sideline?
Oh, I'm on the sideline. Yeah, for sure.
What position did you play?
I could. I as a kid, I was. I mean,
You're not
I
a
played
goalkeeper.
everywhere. No, I was a
Not a center back.
When I was older, I played right back and 6.
all right.
Yeah. So
That's a good man right there.
Yeah.
How often did you get left off to left back?
Not very often.
So he was
Wow.
he was too good to play
It's
left
too good
back.
to play on.
We always
yeah.
laugh like
Not enough
we've
of a
all
left.
played left back and
Not
like
enough.
We've
of a
all
left
been
foot.
we've all been just left off to left back.
I think I did one game. Yeah,
How many times did you kick someone then?
probably a lot. It was
Yeah.
probably just taking people down
Yeah.
every time I got beat.
That's the way to go. Bring him inside.
Yeah, yeah.
So you playing 4v5 or are you gonna go with the 5th?
Yeah. Who's your last? Who's your game?
I need
winner
a
here?
defensive player, don't I?
Well, you don't.
I don't know. Some people go attacking.
You could just be that little rabid defender in there.
Everybody complains about if you give the ball away then.
Yeah, you just
Yeah.
don't then.
Honestly, I would say. Oh, probably honestly the kid I coached at Lion, Paul Effang was his name. He played for Kalamazoo. Actually, they played the game before the men is here. He was the captain of Kalamazoo's team. He's 6'5" kid.
Good lord.
He's gonna wreck some boys in that.
Yeah,
mini
you can
pitch.
sit in there and kind of help kind of make
put him in goal.
make everybody else
just cover the whole thing.
make everything else kind of tick and work, and you can just kind of sit him and let the rest of them like run around to be better than everybody. And yeah, that would be. That's good mix of guys you're playing with or coaching with there. But yeah, no, I mean, yeah, probably two of the best guys that I coached previously, and then two of the best guys that I've ever played with growing up. Like,
Strong. So then I'm gonna take it from you, Blake, because I know exactly where you're going next with this. We like predictions.
Oh,
on the
there
pod.
it is. I love it.
So we got 2 predictions that we need from you. 1, will you finish above 500?
yes.
And 2, who wins on Wednesday night? You guys play Midland. It's a D.
They're NAI.
Okay,
they're
sorry.
in the G-Pack, so it's like
Okay.
Hastings and stuff.
Okay, so they're also in a good
no Cole
conference.
Poppin return to Des Moines.
Yeah,
No,
we
should
did
schedule
you guys
that.
smack Hastings?
No, we lost to Cole. We missed a penalty. Lost 2-1. They were much
Attaboy,
better in
Cole
the first
Poppy.
half. They were good.
We're Poppy fans. I'm a Poppy fan.
Yeah, they were very. It was funny. They played very similar to, like, they played like a D1 style. I thought, and you know, I mean, it was
tracks.
It was very similar to like how Drake played, kind of. I mean, they were good. They're a great team. I mean, he's done really well. I mean, he's done a good job. And they've had a good season. And yeah, I mean, we were terrible in the first half, but we could have, for sure. I mean, it's 2-1 and we missed a penalty. So yeah.
So Midland tomorrow or Wednesday? How's that gonna look?
I mean, we're young, but I think that we just won 5-1 the other day. So I'm quite confident, to be honest.
So you think on the positive side of the scoreline?
4-0.
I don't know if I'm going to go 4-0. We've had one clean sheet.
All right, a home win is coming on Wednesday, is what I hear.
Are we playing back on the stadium field, or are they still working on it? And are we going back to the?
We're still shunted off to the side. So
Oh no! Well, it's been a pleasure, David, and we will just talk. We'll probably end up talking more, but
Sure.
We'll tighten it up for the pod. Good luck this week, and good luck this fall, and we'll look forward to staying in touch.
Yeah. All right, thanks, guys.
Go Vikings!
Go Vikings.
All right, Phoebes, that was a fun interview. Always makes it a little bit more enjoyable when there's some beers on the table as well. So I like that, of course. Should talk about the game a little bit.
Yeah, obviously the weather played a little part because it was quite chilly, a little windy. But fall weather in Iowa is here and here to stay, I think, after last night.
Sure seems like it. Poor tomatoes are about dead. So let's talk about the game a little bit. It was definitely a tale of two halves, no doubt about that. But the chilly weather didn't deter the Vikings out of the gate, did it?
No, they came out firing. They were quick. They were good at the beginning. And I think David Groves had to be pretty positive after the first 30, 45 minutes.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, certainly doesn't hurt that their center forward was on a hat trick and they're up 3-0.
Yeah, and a little bit to Lucas Newhart. What a little, the one goal where they played it over the top and he did a little Cruyff.
To lay it back in Rune Peterson's path.
Yeah, I mean, like, what a goal that was. That was a great piece of skill from the Ankeny boy.
Yeah, it's pretty cool to see some local guys getting a good run out there and impressing.
Yeah, and I think, one thing we do, like you said, I think at the end of the day, ended up being 4-2, but Grandview clearly was the better team. They're getting that good workmanlike performance, but the red card on Gutierrez, I think that's going to probably be a talking point as due to them having to miss their next game. And kind of a game that was, I think they easily had in hand, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they were up 3-0 at half, and then Newhart actually scored quickly out of the gate in the second half on assist from Rune Peterson as well. So they sort of seem to have a bit of a strike force duo kind of going. But then, red card doesn't help things at all, does it?
No, and I mean, again, like you look at the result 4-2, it looks like it was a competitive game. But I don't think it really was. But I think, Gutierrez, the big man in the back, having to miss the game as well next on the weekend, I think is when they play next maybe. But that's obviously
not great for the Vikings.
No, they'll be disappointed to miss him. And, you know, young guy though, right? Local guy as well. So, I mean, again, we like to see that. But I don't know, Steve, how many times have you been sent off in your career?
There's been a few.
Yeah, I somehow think I've been sent off more than you. But that's mostly just because I can't keep my temper. But yeah, so what I mean, so then I was pulling up, you know, they win 4-2, and like you said, the maybe talking point is that they're without Guti in this next game, and then I'm just trying to pull up. I forgot to see who they played next. You don't happen to know offhand, do you, Blake?
I don't, but while you find that, I mean, one thing, like they did play at the Drake Stadium. So we noticed last week there was some work being done on their field. I don't know what it was, right? They played on the Roosevelt, maybe. Is that Roosevelt's home field there on the far end? And then last night, obviously, they played on the Drake's field. So I wonder, maybe they're doing the new Grass Max system over there on the Grandview Stadium field. I'm not sure, but
yeah, that's a good question.
Hopefully you've had enough time to find out who they play next.
Yeah, they play Park University, which I was just trying to see if they're in the same. They are a part of the Heart America Conference, so it's a conference game. And so again, like that, they'll, you know, they got a quick turnaround, and you know, going to be without one of their starters.
Yep, and we'll see how they fare, but learning points.
Yeah, for sure. Let's plan to keep an eye on them, and obviously we had a long episode today, so we'll wrap it up. Really good chat again with David Groves, and you know, congrats again to him on another win in the books. And good luck to them this weekend against Park University and for the rest of the season.
Love it. Thanks, David.
Yep. My name's Ben, though. Thanks, Severs. Talk to you soon.